Hey everyone! Welcome back to Story Hive. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let's jump into today's story. My mother-in-law has her fist so deep in my husband's life that she's convinced him our son isn't his. She's even persuaded him to get a paternity test. Fine, then I'll give them what they want with a fistful of divorce papers. This whole situation is embarrassing, and I'm just done with it. I've been with my husband for 5 years now, married for 3. Long story short, his mom has always been overwhelming and bold with her input on everything, to put it nicely. I genuinely think it's not fair to be mad at your partner for something he didn't do himself. He can't control what his mom does or says, but what's also not fair is him not addressing it when I'm clearly uncomfortable or upset, and instead just talking me into brushing it off or going along with it. I never have, nor would I ever have, a back and forth with my mother-in-law. It's just not worth barking at each other. I always brush off a snarky comment, or if she suggests a better way to do something, I'll just tell her thanks for the suggestion, but we are fine. It's actually true that when you marry someone, you marry their family. I think the way to handle it is that each spouse should keep their side of the family in line, for lack of a better way to say it. I deal with my parents and their shenanigans, and I expected him to do the same. But he never did. Instead, he always asks me to give her some grace. Well, it's hard when that person is insulting you. For a while now, she has been making comments about how my son doesn't look like my husband when he was a toddler, basically accusing me of sleeping around. This, rightfully so, upset me. Sorry, my genes are strong. What am I supposed to tell you? I was short with my husband because he didn't address how out of pocket and disrespectful this whole thing is. It has been a week since my husband, well, soon-to-be ex-husband, told me that he would be doing a paternity DNA test. Not because he thinks our son isn't his, but to shut his mom up. Yes, exactly what you read. I don't know which is worse, him accusing me of cheating or this, but all I know is that this is audacious. I didn't cheat, and I am not concerned one bit about the test results. I wasn't going to stop him from taking a DNA test or whatever, but I just know I don't want to deal with this any longer. I'm looking for an apartment and talked to a lawyer the day after he brought up the DNA test. We'll be getting the results in 2 days. I almost can't wait. He will also be getting divorce papers with those results, which I know for a fact he won't see coming. I tried my best to make this whole thing work and to manage my relationship with my mother-in-law as gracefully as possible. But thinking about it, it's not just my mother-in-law that's the problem. How he is handling things is also a problem. And as a side note, I have never been more glad that I didn't leave my job when I got married. He makes more than enough to take care of the financial side of things. I thought I would get bored, but I only have to be on site 2 days per week. Also, I really love my job and the company, so I didn't leave. I know that divorce can be hard on kids, but I also experienced the other side. Living with 2 parents who hated each other and fought almost all the time is hard, maybe even harder. They thought that staying together would be good for me and my siblings, but newsflash, it wasn't. It was traumatizing, to say the least. I don't want my son to live like that, because I'll tell you one thing, I just can't stand my husband anymore. I don't know if this is a weird way of saying it, but I just don't respect him anymore, if that makes sense. I just see an unreliable man, and I know for a fact that our fights won't be the same as before. I would have said it was a waste of 5 years, but I have a sweet and smart little one now. Having a child really pushes you to be better and to do better, so I can't complain. Update 1. I'm here to update you, as a lot of people were interested, but real quick, I have a comment about my last post. Please, if you are going through something serious, think twice before posting it. Obviously, I was expecting people to tell me I'm overreacting, but seeing comments like "you're a disgusting piece of crap." As for the update, the day he was supposed to receive the results, I called my father-in-law and invited them to come over that evening. My husband was working when he got the results. He sent them to me and told me he would talk to his mother to finally put this to rest. I informed him that I had already invited them for that evening, and that I was just waiting for my apology before I left. I asked him to come home so we could talk before they came over. He called and I basically told him that this is not working for me anymore. I've already talked to an attorney, filed for divorce, and while it might be more expensive than a paternity test, it would be more effective in making his mother happy. And no, I don't care that he was working when I told him. I don't think you would have either. He left work and came home. Long story short, we had a spectacular fight. He said that I was not thinking about our son and that I was overreacting because it's not like he went behind my back. If he knew I was this upset, he wouldn't have done it, but he knew how I felt about it. We had a heated argument when he brought it up. When I gave him the divorce papers, he said he wasn't signing anything and that he'd ask his mother to apologize when his parents arrived to get it over with. Listen, I don't need him to sign it to get a divorce. It would only make things complicated. His mother said she has nothing to apologize for. I'm not going to apologize for having suspicions. I didn't accuse you of anything, and you can leave if you want to. So that's that. I did leave that night because I wasn't going to get an apology, and he didn't seem to understand that him reinforcing that it's okay for her to do what she did is exactly why I want a divorce in the first place. He eventually told his parents he'd be coming over from time to check up on them, as he is their only child, and not to bother coming over any more until she apologizes. She wasn't amused. She told me I'm taking her son away and that some would take my son too. She is not someone that you can talk to. I'll tell you that much. It's like talking to a wall. All she knows is insulting or being passive-aggressive on a good day. But anyway, we are not getting a divorce, at least not yet. We talked the day after. He said, I can always file for a divorce, but we should at least try couples counseling because he doesn't want to lose his son, plain and simple. Although it's not like if we were to get divorced, he wouldn't be able to see his son, but whatever. He did say when we talked the second time that he can see how he was wrong, especially knowing his mother. He also mentioned that he'll just shut her down if she meddles this time. But what can I do with just words? I hope he can learn a thing or two about how to deal with his mother in counseling because she is truly overwhelming. If counseling helps him understand that a couple means two people, not three, and that our marriage is a bit crowded right now, that's enough for me. People saying that I'm overreacting in my last post made me ask myself if I actually want a divorce or if I'm just mad. I wanted the divorce at the time. It seemed like the only solution. But if counseling helps us, I can try to work things out. I hope this is a good decision. If not, I'm not stuck. I'll take my son and leave. I have a friend who got divorced in 20 days with an uncontested divorce when both parties were on the same page regarding how things would be divided, including custody. It's a matter of how long the court takes to review and finalize the divorce, and then you're done. That was my plan. Nonetheless, I'm the one working from home, and my son is still so young. It's totally up to him if he wants to see his son every day when he gets off work, or just a couple of times per week, because I am not tolerating this anymore. Also, someone asked why they're asking for the test and why I'm so against it. I don't want to assume there were some troubles in the past, but I feel like there's a lot of let up and information left out here. At this point, I've shared so much that these aren't too many details. I guess I am not religious, and I also dated women at a certain time. She doesn't like that and thinks that me not being religious or not being straight means I have no values or something. She hates that her son married a non-religious person. He is a believer, but he's a non-practicing believer. Either way, his religion or my lack of belief doesn't cause us any problems in our day-to-day life. I hope this clarifies things for you. Oh, and one last thing. People in my last post were debating whether paternity tests should be mandatory or not. I thought it was clear from what I wrote that I didn't cheat and have nothing against the paternity test itself. It should be obvious to everyone that it's not fair for the child nor the man to be tricked into living a lie if he was the one who had suspicions. That's a big deal. We would have talked about why he thinks that taking the paternity test for his peace of mind made sure we could trust each other, and then moved on all without anyone interfering, let alone requesting the paternity test. Update 2. It's been a roller coaster since my husband decided to pursue a paternity test. The whole situation has been deeply unsettling, and I'm at my wit's end. My mother-in-law has been relentless, convinced that our son isn't her son's child. This conviction has driven her to convince my husband to get a paternity test, a move that feels like a betrayal and an invasion of our privacy. After 5 years together and 3 years of marriage, my husband and I have faced many challenges, but this one feels like a breaking point. His mother has always been overly involved, her opinions on everything bordering on invasive. I've tried to handle her with grace, brushing off snide comments and unsolicited advice with polite but firm replies. Yet, despite my efforts, the constant undermining has taken its toll. I've never engaged in conflict with her, it's just not worth it. I'd rather address issues calmly and avoid unnecessary confrontations. I thought that dealing with my own family's quirks was challenging enough, but I expected my husband to handle his mother's overbearing behavior. Instead, he's been asking me to be more understanding. It's hard to be patient when faced with someone who openly questions your integrity and the legitimacy of your child. Recently, my mother-in-law began making hurtful comments, suggesting that our son doesn't resemble my husband as a toddler and insinuating that I must have been unfaithful. Such accusations are not only untrue but deeply painful. I was furious that my husband wasn't addressing these issues with his mother, and instead he seemed to expect me to simply accept it. When he decided to go through with the paternity test, he claimed it was to put his mother's doubts to rest. I felt humiliated and betrayed. The idea that he needed to prove our child's paternity to silence his mother was deeply unsettling. Despite my hurt, I decided not to obstruct the test but made it clear that I was done with this ordeal. I began looking for an apartment and consulted with a lawyer about divorce proceedings. My plan was to finalize everything quickly and move on. The paternity test results were due soon, and I was prepared to present divorce papers alongside them. I hoped this would finally end the ongoing turmoil. On the day my husband received the results, I invited my in-laws over for an evening meeting, expecting a confrontation. When my husband got the results, he sent them to me and mentioned he would speak with his mother to resolve the situation. I told him that I had already invited them over and was waiting for an apology before leaving. He came home, and we had a heated argument. He claimed he was only trying to address his mother's concerns, but I saw it as a sign of how poorly he managed our relationship and family issues. The argument escalated. He refused to sign the divorce papers, insisting he'd ask his mother to apologize when she arrived. His mother's reaction was dismissive. She saw no reason to apologize and told me I could leave if I wanted. That night I did leave, unwilling to accept that him condoning his mother's behavior was acceptable. Despite this, we decided not to proceed with the divorce immediately. We talked the next day, and he proposed trying couples counseling before making any final decisions. He's deeply concerned about losing his son and wants to make sure we explore all avenues before ending the marriage. I agreed to counseling with the hope that it might help him understand the impact of his mother's actions and our marital issues. I'm still conflicted about whether I want to continue the marriage or move forward with the divorce. The counseling might help us address our problems, but I'm also prepared to leave if things don't improve. My son's well-being is my top priority, and I'm determined to ensure that he has a stable and loving environment free from unnecessary conflict. I'm holding on to the hope that with counseling, my husband will understand that a marriage involves both partners, and that the presence of a third party, like his mother, complicates things. If counseling can help us navigate these issues and build a healthier relationship. If not, I'm ready to make the tough decision to move on for the sake of my son and myself. Thanks for tuning in to today's Reddit story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on more amazing stories. See you next time.